In 2014, March 11th, Blizzard Entertainment released their new game, Hearthstone, a virtual card game based on their widely successful franchise, Warcraft. The game was an instant success and had many other successful expansions to follow its release. You could play as 9 different classes: the Warrior, Shaman, Rogue, Paladin, Hunter, Druid, Warlock, Mage, and Priest. And for the first time in 6 years, a new class was added: the Demon Hunter. Developers even said if it goes well, they're not opposed to adding more classes. Well, it seemed to go well. So what other classes could they add? Looking at the source material for the game, there isn't much of a selection to choose from. Well, there's actually only one. Technically, you can't play as a Death Knight, but there's already cards supporting that class in the game. So, that leaves us with the Monk. What would a monk look like in Hearthstone? I'm here to try and answer that question. Disclaimer, I do not own any of the art used in this video. So, let's start off and try and figure out how a monk would even play before designing it. In Warcraft, the monk can be a tank, a healer, or even a DPS. Alright, so the monk can do pretty much anything. It has a connection to the world, meditating, and it's a swift fighter. This class could play a lot like a druid, with nature, healing, and buffing, but also like a rogue with its swift attacks, catch you off guard style. Alright, now that we have the base down, let's figure out the hero. I decided to go with Taranzu, the leader of the Shadowpan, and definitely the most monk-like. With his hero power, I chose Spirit Touch. For 2 mana, it restores 1 health to a character and gives +1 attack. The hero power is definitely very powerful, so in exchange, the minions it receives would not have the greatest stat lines. Each class has a set of 10 basic class cards, and the monk will be no exception. I created 10 cards that I think would fit the theme and could possibly be used if the monk ever became a class. So for the first card, we have a Monk Student, a 1 mana 1/3 with a battle cry of restoring 2 health to all minions. I think this is a good statted minion with an upside and downside depending on when you play. A monk would have a good strategy, so this card would need one. Next, we have the Trainee Staff, a 2 mana 2/2 weapon. Nothing much here, but a nice statted weapon for 2 mana. I have in mind other cards that could equip this weapon. Think of it as the monk's fiery war axe. Up next, we have the Pondarian Bookkeeper. This is where the rogue ties in. A monk would study its opponent and learn a thing or two about it. Therefore, they could use cards from another class occasionally. Up next, we have the Dizzy Brawler. Now this one I really like the design of, because Hearthstone is a kid's game. It can't be a drunk brawler, but think of it like that. This is a high health minion with taunt in early game, but it will always take 2 damage at the start of your turn. You have to decide if it's worth it to use your hero power or other buffs to keep this minion alive. Now, the next 5 cards are based on the 5 different fighting styles of Kung Fu, and the Furious 5 from Kung Fu Panda. This is the study of the crane. Draw a card. If your hero has more than 20 health, draw 2. I like this idea of a monk having to manage its health as a resource more than other classes. The monk would want to stay at full health, and I can see other cards with even more powerful effects when you're low health, to try and balance when you want to take damage and bring those final swings. Next, we have the Mystic Mantis. I think this card might be a little underpowered at 2 mana 1/2, but I think the effect might bring it back. Whenever this minion attacks, restore 3 health to your hero. I think the stats are okay being understated, considering the buff effects that the monk may already have at the ready. Plus, there's nothing wrong with sometimes just having a bad card. Next, we have the Student of the Viper. At 4 mana 3/4, the Student of the Viper has a battle cry, give your hero poisonous for this turn. Thinking of a monk, they would take out an enemy in one singular blow, so the poisonous effect could achieve that idea. Next we have Thought of the Monkey. This is a simple idea, and I really don't know if it's way too powerful or way too weak. I'd have to see it in action enough to tell, but for 5 mana, you give all friendly minions +2/+2. I think this can help the stats of minions monks have, making them more of a threat. Next we have Roar of the Tiger. Now, this one is also a super cool concept, but I don't know how well it would fare in game. For 6 mana, you shuffle all minions into their owner's deck and give them +2/+2. So when you withdraw them, they would already have their buff. While it's a similar effect to Thought of the Monkey, you also get a board clear for 1 extra mana. The downside being your opponent gets that buff too. More of a strategy-based card, which I think the monk should have. And finally, we have Yeon Woo. I really like this one because you have to make that decision if it's worth it to get set back 2 mana crystals for your health. Most of the time, I believe it will be, but it's still a large swing move that can get you back in the game. And to make sure this card isn't overly broken, more higher cost cards with desirable effects would have to be printed, making it feel a little bit more fair to set yourself back, holding out on those cards until later in the game. And that's all the 10 basic cards I made for this hypothetical monk class. I had a lot of fun doing this, and I have a ton more ideas for more cards, so let me know if you're willing to see that and like to. Anyways, thanks for watching, like, comment, subscribe, you know the deal. Peace.